Well, if you wanted pitchers, you've got them. The Orioles taking a ton of arms in day two of the MLB draft. And I'm going to recap all 24 picks the Orioles made over the past couple of days, coming up on this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast.
You are Locked On Orioles, your daily Baltimore Orioles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Orioles fans. Today is Tuesday, July 15th, 2025, and welcome back into the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, Connor Newcomb. And coming up on today's episode, we're going to give you the scouting report for all 24 players that the Orioles selected over the past 2 days in the 2025 MLB Draft. We'll touch more on some of the guys, the big names they took in day one, and then we'll dive into some of these very intriguing, some off-the-radar arms that the Orioles really went after in day number two to continue to build up the pitching program in the minor leagues. We'll talk about best pick, favorite pick, one who's closest to the big leagues. We'll break down the class as a whole. This is your Everything 2025 Draft episode, and it's coming up right here on the Locked On Orioles podcast. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So I'm recording here on Monday evening. The 2025 MLB Draft has just concluded with the 20 rounds, and the Orioles, who had 24 selections, the most picks in this draft. They also had a bonus pool of over $19.1 million. It was the largest bonus signing pool in this class and the largest in the history of this format of the draft, which began in 2012. That was mostly because they acquired that number 37 overall compensation pick from the Rays for Brian Baker in that trade they made last week, shortly before the draft, which was Sunday and Monday of this week. Now, I definitely implore you to go back to either the Locked On Orioles YouTube channel, or if you want to check out wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it may be, and you can get some of my live reaction episodes from Sunday night. I did not a full episode, but about 15 minutes or so on Ike Irish, who the Orioles took in the first round, did a full breakdown on him. And then we had about a 25-minute episode breaking down their next three picks, who the Orioles took at 30, 31, and 37. So we talked about Caden Hunter, we talked about Wehiwa Aloy, and we talked about the Orioles high school outfielder Slater DeBrun that they took at 37 as well. So for a further breakdown on those four players specifically, make sure to go back and check out those episodes if you have not already. That's why I'm going to spend a little bit less time on those four in this episode, just because I already got to them in some episodes on Sunday. But let's begin. I'm just going to go pick by pick. We're going to kind of talk about who these players are, give you some scouting report from some experts who watch them more than me, especially on the high school and junior college players. And then we'll talk about kind of the class as a whole at the end. So let's begin with the Orioles' first round pick. They selected 19th overall, and they took catcher outfielder Ike Irish, the left-handed hitter out of Auburn. A 21-year-old who was mainly a catcher when he came to Auburn, but played mostly right field for the Tigers this season. Still caught a little bit, but he was hit by a pitch in March and fractured his scapula, which does not sound good. He missed a few weeks. He came back, and Auburn basically stuck him in the outfield for the rest of the season. Now, he was awesome. Slash 364, 469, 710. That's an 1179 OPS with 19 homers, 33 walks to 37 strikeouts this season. Eric Longenhagen over at Fangraphs says he thinks he'll be the fastest moving bat in the class, which basically means he could be the first hitter from this draft class to get to the big leagues. That's how big league ready he thinks the bat is. And Joe Doyle, our guest on the show every year over at Future Stars Series Plus, says that Irish was the 98th percentile in terms of average exit velocity on his batted balls in the country in college baseball this year. He dropped his whiff rate this season. Now, there is a consensus that he hits a few too many ground balls, especially when he gets low pitches. He's not able to lift those in the air. And there's also a consensus that because of his arm strength, he may be more of a right fielder than a catcher defensively long-term. But the Orioles announced him as a catcher when they drafted him. They're going to give him every chance to stick behind the plate because obviously that gives him more value instead of being a corner outfielder. But just a big-time bat, and again, broke him down way more on an episode on Sunday. Then the 30th pick, the Orioles got from Anthony Santander, leaving in free agency. In the compensation round one, they take Caden Bodine, a 21-year-old switch-hitting catcher out of Coastal Carolina, who has the defense to stay at catcher, is a much better defender back there than Ike Irish is, and is a great contact hitter as well. Hit .318, 454 on base, 461 slug. That's a .915 OPS at Coastal this year. Only 5 home runs, but he walked 47 times and struck out only 24 times, almost double the walks as he had strikeouts. Is pretty amazing. Eric Longenhagen over at Fangraphs had him at a 96% in-zone contact rate this season. That is incredible. What does that mean? That when Bodine swings at a pitch in the strike zone, he only swung and missed 4% of the time. He is elite at putting the bat on the ball, but he does lack that big-time power. Joe Doyle over at Future Star Series Plus says he's basically the best overall catcher in this draft because Ike Irish, people again projecting him to be an outfielder long-term. When I see Bodine, I see Adley Rutschman with basically all the sliders turned down a bit, but it's that kind of similar profile, just not as good of a player, obviously, going number 30 versus number 1 overall. Then the Orioles had the very next pick at number 31. They got that for Corbin Burns leaving in free agency, and they took the 21-year-old right-handed hitting shortstop Wehiwa Aloy out of Arkansas. Big-time athleticism, big-time power, really improved his defense at shortstop this year, but also a guy with some swing and miss issues, chases out of the zone a little bit too much. He played 1 year at Sacramento State and then transferred to Arkansas for his final 2 college seasons and just absolutely electrified onto the scene this year. Hit .350 with 1107 OPS and 21 home runs. 21% strikeout rate isn't crazy high, but it's definitely high for a hitter this good. He also won the Golden Spikes Award this season for the best player in Division I college baseball. The scouting notes, Eric at Fangraphs says he probably has too much chase right now and might benefit from a small swing change, but the power and the athleticism is there. And Joe Doyle over at Future Star Series said Aloy has the talent of a top 10 pick that the Orioles got at number 31. I mean, basically every single place had him ranked 20th or higher in their rankings, and the Orioles got him at 31. That was very similar to Ike Irish. He was ranked anywhere from like 10th to 13th most places, and the Orioles got him at number 19. Many of these picks they couldn't believe this player was still there and had to take the best talent on the board. Then the pick the Orioles got for Brian Baker, competitive balance round A pick, number 37 overall. They went with their first high school player of the draft, Slater DeBrun. He is a left-handed hitting 18-year-old outfielder out of Summit High School in Bend, Oregon, has the athleticism and speed to stay in center field, has extremely good bat-to-ball skills that showed up when he was dominant playing for the Team USA high school team. He is a smaller guy. He's just 5'8", but the skills are there for him. He's also an aspiring country pop artist who records under the name Lil Slay, so you can check out his music on Spotify. The scouting notes on him, Eric at Fangraphs kind of worries about the arm strength and overall projectability, but looks like a really talented player in high school right now. And Joe at Future Stars Series says he's super strong for his age and really doesn't chase outside the strike zone at all. Really an advanced hitter for being 18. Definitely has some projectability there. And again, for more on all 4 of those players, make sure to check out the 2 live episodes I did on Sunday. You can get them wherever you get your podcasts and also here on YouTube. So let's get to the guys I have not talked about on this show yet. The Orioles' second round pick, number 58 overall. They took their first pitcher of the draft. And for Mike Elias, he took the highest pitcher in terms of draft pick that he has ever selected, the highest he's ever taken a pitcher in the draft. It is Joseph Jerwa, a 21-year-old, 6'7" left-handed pitcher out of Michigan State who completely broke out on the scene as the ace for the Spartans this year with a funky delivery, a funky arm slot, and really, really good stuff. In 15 starts for Sparty in the spring, Jerwa pitched 91 2/3 innings, had a 2.36 ERA with a 28% strikeout rate and a minuscule 6% walk rate, especially for a left-hander in college with stuff this good. Eric over at Fangraphs says it's a fastball, kind of 90 to 93 with really good tail and a great changeup that had a 40% swing and miss against it this season. He thinks that Jerwa is going to need another good breaking ball to really be a truly good MLB starting pitcher. But Joe over Future Stars Series said it's great fastball command, huge projectability, especially on the velocity. And he wrote a lot about how, and Lance Brozdowski actually on the MLB Network broadcast on Sunday night said a similar thing where all the projections basically say, hey, Jerwa's been throwing 92. He should be throwing 95, 96 plus, and teams think there's an ability to get him to that velocity fairly easily. And I have to think the Orioles believe that as well, because his stuff was already really good. Tim Stats, who puts together a college stuff plus model, had his stuff plus at 112.2 with the average being 100. That was right around Gage Wood, a first-round pick who threw that no-no in the College World Series, and Kyson Witherspoon, who was drafted 15th overall this year. The Orioles may have gotten a serious steal at number 58 with Joseph Jerwa. And then right after that, they had a pick at number 69. That was their competitive balance round B selection, and they took another arm. 21-year-old, 6'6" right-handed pitcher JT Quinn out of Georgia was the Orioles' next selection. And I mean, you got to be honest here. They went for, it seems like, the tallest arms that they could find. Big mid-90s sinker with a four-seam fastball as well. He's got a large curveball too. Worked as both a reliever and a starter for the Bulldogs this season. 17 appearances, 7 starts. He threw 36 innings. He had a 2.75 ERA, 23 hits allowed, 34% strikeout rate to a 12% walk rate. He pitched in the Cape Cod League this summer before the draft. That is the premier summer wood bat league for the best college baseball players in the country. And in 14 innings as a starter this summer in the Cape Cod League, again, facing the best talent in the country, he struck out 25 batters and walked 2 in 14 innings. An insane performance there that probably drew him up draft boards. Now, he pitched 2 years at Ole Miss and was kind of a reliever with big strikeouts, but huge walk issues. Transferred to Georgia this year, worked with Wes Johnson, who is their head coach, but he's one of the best pitching coaches in the country. And Joe Doyle over Future Stars series says it's kind of a big over-the-top delivery for JT Quinn. He did have some oblique and blister issues this year, which is why he only threw 36 innings, but he worked in a lot of 1, 2, 3 inning stints, even as a starter. And Joe Doyle called him one of his top 5 sleepers in the entire 2025 MLB Draft. So definitely an exciting pitcher in JT Quinn. Next up, we go to the third round, pick number 93 overall. The Orioles took 21-year-old right-handed hitting center fielder RJ Austin out of Vanderbilt. For the second time in 3 years, the O's take the starting center fielder for the Vandy boys. Now, Austin also played a lot of infield in his time at Vanderbilt. Actually ended up playing games at all 4 infield positions. Yeah, that's third, short, second, and first base in 2024 with Vandy. Now, he settled in more as the center fielder last year and actually won the Rawlings College Division I Gold Glove in center field this year, given to the best center field defender in Division I men's college baseball. So that's pretty impressive. But his offense did take a step back this season, hit 257. Really not a lot of power, just 2 homers, just a 736 OPS. He did steal 22 bases in 27 tries, 18% strikeout rate, just an 8% walk rate. Eric over at Fangraphs says that it's super quick hands. It's a good swing for Austin, but he hits way too many ground balls, despite the fact that he has good raw power. He hits the ball really hard, but he just beats it into the ground, which led to his down year statistically in 2025. And Eric is a little worried about the arm and thinking he's going to be more of an infielder, maybe even a second baseman than a center fielder. But Joe over at Future Star Series says he's very projectable and especially could be a value pick after a down year at Vandy. The Orioles clearly see a guy who hits the ball super hard. They want to get him to lift the baseball again because he had a really good sophomore year, then kind of came down last year. And maybe you could turn things around for RJ Austin. 4th round pick for the Orioles. They take a very athletic 21-year-old right-handed hitting shortstop in Colin Yeaman out of UC Irvine. Yeaman is a junior college transfer who shined at the Division I level this year with a really, really pretty swing from the right side. At UC Irvine this season, he hit 336 with a 1038 OPS, 13 homers, barely more strikeouts than walks, and was named the 2025 Big West Conference Player of the Year. Now, Eric over at Fangraphs is super high on him. The Orioles got him at pick number 124. Eric Longenhagen had Yeaman ranked as his 27th best player on the board, and he fell 100 picks basically for the Orioles to get him. So some of that you might be concerned, why is he falling? And some of that is, wow, the Orioles just got a gigantic value in this pick. Eric calls him a slam dunk defensive shortstop who also just crushes fastballs at the plate. Joe Doyle is a little more bearish on his defense, thinks he'll move to either second base or third base defensively at the next level, but notes he had a 60% hard hit rate in college this year, which is a great number. Just bangs the baseball, especially when he gets a fastball. So that was rounds 1 through 4, the first 8 selections from the Orioles draft. We will get to the next 8. That includes another interesting high school player and a lot of arms coming off the board for the Orioles. But first, this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. And for me, I just really like, because I share my finances now with someone, and Monarch just helps us stay in line and stay on the same page with everything we're spending, investing, all of it in one app. It's all in one place. You don't have to go to different apps. It just makes it so simple and so easy. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. So we continue on in the Orioles 2025 MLB Draft recap show. We're on to the 5th round for the Orioles as they took their second high school player of this draft. To pick number 154 overall, it was shortstop Jaden Loray, who the Orioles took out of Corona del Sol High School in Arizona. Loray is committed to play his college baseball at BYU, but the Orioles hope they can give him enough money in a signing bonus to get him to not go to college and sign with the O's. Now, Loray is an 18-year-old right-handed hitting shortstop who played for Team USA a long time alongside DeBrun on that team and was really a fast riser this spring with a lot of room to grow in his game. Eric Longenhagen impressed by his defense and athleticism, and Joe Doyle really impressed with the bat-to-ball skills from the right side for Loray, and especially his ability to change his barrel path he wrote about to get to different pitches at such a young age. Apparently, he really shows out in these showcase events. Interesting college bat for the Orioles to go and get. What I will say from kind of coming out of people who've seen Team USA played, they were much more impressed by Slater DeBrun than they were by Jaden Loray, but that makes sense. DeBrun was 37th overall. Loray was 154th overall, but still could be a really good player. On to the 6th round, pick 184. The Orioles went back to the mound. It was 21-year-old right-handed pitcher Caden Hunter, who the Orioles selected out of USC. Or excuse me. Sorry, Caden. That is a 21-year-old 6'2" left-handed pitcher in Caden Hunter, who was USC's ace this season, but did have some struggles at times this year after he transferred from Sierra College, a junior college in California, where he had pitched his first 2 years of college ball. This season for the Trojans, 16 appearances, 14 starts. In 70 1/3 innings pitched, he posted a 5.50 ERA with a 25% strikeout rate and an 11% walk rate. Joe Doyle wrote about it's more stuff than command right now for Hunter. Low 90s fastball with really good ride, but he at one point touched 97 this season, and his velocity was actually jumping as the year went on, so he was more sitting mid-90s than low 90s by the end of the season. Got a really good changeup, adds a slider as well. We'll see what the Orioles can do with Caden Hunter. Another Hunter in the 7th round, 214 overall. This is first name Hunter. Right-handed pitcher Hunter Allen, the 22-year-old 6'4", 245-pound kind of burly right-hander out of Ashland University. This is the first we get to a run for the Orioles. I know a lot of colleges, a lot of schools I'd never heard of the Orioles taking players from. Ashland University is a Division II program in Ohio. Allen, who had pitched 2 seasons at Owens Community College in Toledo, Ohio, before transferring to D2 Ashland. Ashland has one former big leaguer, Art Warren. If you remember him, former Yankees prospect who pitched for a couple of teams in the big leagues, their only big leaguer. He was at Owens for the last 2 years and then at Ashland for the 2 years after that. He was a reliever in 2024, but they turned him into a starter and the ace of the staff this season. In 12 starts, he threw 61 1/3 innings to a 3.96 ERA with a 31% strikeout rate and a 14% walk rate. Eric Longenhagen at Fangraphs says it's a fastball, 92 to 95, up to 97 with really good ride. It's a power 12-6 curveball and a changeup, but he does have shaky command. And Joe Doyle said he even saw him top out at 99, or at least heard that he topped out at 99 this year, with big extension down the mound and that big ride. But Doyle says the issue is, and maybe this is the reason why this guy fell to the 7th round and he was only in Division II baseball, is that he has all the stuff, the ride, the velocity, the extension, where he should be throwing four-seam fastballs at the top of the zone. And Doyle wrote in his report over at Future Star Series Plus, definitely go and subscribe to that, it's great information, that he just throws too many fastballs at the bottom of the zone, and it doesn't let his stuff play up enough. He basically projects to be a really good back-end reliever, but I'm sure the O's will at least let him begin as a starter and see where that goes. To the 8th round we go, pick number 244. It's another pitcher. 22-year-old, 6'2" left-hander Kailen Hamson out of another school I had not heard of, the University of the Cumberlands, which is an NAIA school in Kentucky. NAIA are schools not even affiliated with the NCAA, so not affiliated with D1, D2, or D3, kind of seen as a lower level than that. NAIA in Kentucky. Hamson, who is originally from Australia, came to the States, pitched at Three Rivers College, a junior college in Missouri, for 2 years before transferring to the Cumberlands last year. He was a reliever last season with big strikeouts and big walks, but then they moved into the rotation, became the ace in 2025. He is actually committed to transfer to D1 Kentucky if he does not sign with the Orioles. I mean, the Wildcats, they've been one of the better SEC programs the past couple of years in college baseball Division I. They found him and they got him to commit, but the Orioles are certainly going to want him to sign. In 14 starts for the University of the Cumberlands this year, a 2.72 ERA in 82 2/3 innings, just 55 hits allowed, and an insane 37% strikeout rate to a 9% walk rate for a starter. That is just unhittable stuff. He's clearly facing hitters that have no chance against him. Would have been interesting to see him pitch at the D1 level at Kentucky, but Orioles hope that does not happen, and he is in their system. Joe Doyle writes, it's a low slot lefty with a low 90s fastball, has high spin, big ride on the fastball, also has a cutter, a slider, and a changeup to go with him. He called Hamson, quote, a data darling who right now at this moment has MLB-ready stuff. And you think about the low slot with the high ride, that is the ball that kind of doesn't go down as much, so it almost seems like it's rising to a hitter. You think about the peak level of Craig Kimbrell. He has kind of that low sidearm arm slot, but the ball has so much ride, it comes low and it goes up high, and it makes it possible to hit if you can locate it. I think that's why people are on Hamson. This, we'll talk about at the end. Maybe one of my favorite picks of this draft. Round number 9 for the Orioles, pick 274. Cam Lee is the selection for the O's. Here's another college that still sounds fake. He's coming out of Mineral Area Junior College in Missouri. That's right, Mineral Area Junior College. Like, yeah, man, I'm playing baseball at Vitamin State next year. Like that's what it sounded like to me. A 19-year-old, 5'11", right-handed hitting center fielder who is super athletic, just destroyed junior college pitching this year. Hit .444, slugged .800. That's a 1298 OPS. 13 homers, 14 walks, just 11 strikeouts in 205 plate appearances at the junior college level this year. Joe Doyle over Future Star Series Plus called him, quote, a hidden gem in this draft class who still needs to polish his swing and his routes in center field, but has all the athleticism to make it. So the Orioles kind of really finding a diamond in the rough potentially here. 10th round for the O's, pick 304. They go back to the pitching side. It is right-handed pitcher Dalton Neuschwander, a 23-year-old, 6'1" righty out of the University of West Florida, another Division II school that the Orioles found a player from. He's been the ace of the West Florida staff for the last 3 years after he transferred from, here we go with another one, Coastal Alabama Community College Bay Minette is where he pitched for a year before going to the University of West Florida. This year for West Florida, 15 appearances, 12 starts, 2.42 ERA, 81 2/3 innings, 24% strikeout rate, nothing crazy, but a 4% walk rate. All this guy does is throw strikes. And oh yeah, he's got 5 pitches, including a fastball up to 97, and it doesn't matter. His command is pristine. A little bit of an odd hitch in his delivery, which allows for some deception from the video I saw. Another interesting arm here. And the interesting arms continue for the Orioles into pick 334 in the 11th round. It is Holden DeYoung, the 21-year-old, 6'4" left-handed pitcher out of Division I NJIT. May remember them from giving Arkansas a scare in a regional a couple of years ago. Fastball in the low 90s for DeYoung with a slider and a changeup. Although he did have Tommy John, didn't get exactly when the surgery was. Seemed like late March or early April of this year, he got Tommy John surgery after beginning the year as the Friday night starter for NJIT. So he definitely will not pitch any of this minor league season. We'll see him in the O system at some point in 2026. But in his 6 starts, 3.41 ERA, 29 innings, 31 Ks to 17 walks. Kind of a big straight over the top left-hander that the Orioles went and got here. Next up in round 12, pick 364, right-handed pitcher Daniel Lopez. Here's another one I never heard of. Odessa College, a junior college in Texas, is where the Orioles found Lopez. 19-year-old, 6'1" righty with a fastball up to 98, who only pitched 1 year in JUCO. Orioles might have to give him a little more money to make sure he signs. 16 appearances, 6 starts at the JUCO level this year, 49 2/3 innings, had a 4.89 ERA with a 35% strikeout rate and a 16% walk rate. But don't worry, we are not done. We've still got 8 more picks to get to and a lot more colleges you've never heard of, but some very interesting prospects to finish off the show coming up next. But first, this episode of the Locked On Orioles podcast is also brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And if you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free TradeMaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the TradeMaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's at supplyhouse.com. So we continue on with the final 8 picks for the Orioles here in the 2025 MLB Draft. On to round number 13, pick number 394. It is infielder-outfielder Braden Smith, a 21-year-old, 6-foot-tall left-handed hitter out of Oklahoma State, who played pretty much split his time between second base and center field for the Cowboys this season after he had transferred in from Iowa Western Community College. Have heard of that one, where he played for 2 years prior. He hit really well there and just continued to hit in the Big 12 this year. Hit .304 with a .936 OPS to go along with 11 home runs. Joe Doyle had a write-up from him over at Future Star Series Plus, saying it's kind of average tools in terms of his run and his defense, but good bat-to-ball skills, good approach. There's a chance he kind of flames out as a good college player, probably. This is more my take on it, but also a chance to continue to rise up a system if he just continues to hit his way there and show off that defensive versatility with center field and second base. 14th round pick, 424 overall. It is a 19-year-old, 6'2" right-handed pitcher named Brian Arancha, who is out of New Mexico Junior College. Now, he is committed to transfer to Oklahoma, so another guy out of a small school who's planning to go to the SEC next year if he does not sign. But he has a 4-pitch mix, the fastball in the mid-90s up to 98 with a cutter, a slider, and a changeup. Originally from Mexico, had a great season this year, 17 appearances, 15 starts, 85 1/3 innings, 3 complete games, 3.16 ERA, 83 strikeouts to 44 walks on the mound for Arancha. Orioles, again, might have to float a little bit more money his way from that big signing pool to make sure he doesn't go to Oklahoma as just a 14th round pick. Because if he goes to Oklahoma, has a big year, in his mind, he's like, I can get drafted way higher than the 14th round next year. So the Orioles will probably have to be a guy where they give him a little more money to make sure he signs with the O's. 15th round pick for the Orioles, pick number 454, is 21-year-old, 5'11" right-handed pitcher K.K. Clark. Here's another one I hadn't heard of. Pearl River Community College in Mississippi is where he pitched this season. He actually committed to Mississippi State out of high school. He played there in 2024, but only pitched in 2 games and then transferred to a junior college where he put up huge strikeout numbers. He's got a fastball in the low 90s with a slider and a curveball. He is committed to transfer to Division I Louisiana Tech next season, so we'll see if he makes it there or if the O's get him. But he was a first-team All-American in junior college this year. In 18 starts and 88 innings, he posted a 1.84 ERA, allowed just 62 hits, and struck out 116 batters while walking just 22 in 88 innings. This is a pretty electric arm from KK Clark. 16th round, 484 overall. It is the 20-year-old, 6'4" right-hander Denton Biller out of Johnson County Community College in Kansas. He is committed to transfer to Arkansas. So another guy in Biller who the Orioles are going to have to float a little bit more money to get him to turn down Arkansas to be picked in the 16th round this year. It's a 4-pitch mix. Mid-90s fastball, cutter, slider, changeup. Was ranked the number 7 overall transfer coming out of junior college this year. So again, the O's are going to have to float him some more money. In 15 starts at Johnson County CC this season, 64 and a third innings, 4.20 ERA, 69 strikeouts, 223 walks. In the 17th round, the Orioles kept going pitcher, but at least from a school we've all heard of, it is 22-year-old, 6'4" left-hander Braden Sloan, who the Orioles picked out of TCU. He has spent the last 2 years kind of a not very great starter, but the TCU moved him into more of a bullpen role this season, and he started to shine. 17 appearances, 58 and 2/3 innings. So he was averaging, 3 to 4 innings per outing, pitching in kind of long relief as the fireman guy out of the TCU bullpen. 4.14 ERA, 43 hits, 30% strikeout rate to an 11% walk rate. Joe Doyle says a whippy crossbody delivery, 3/4 arm slot from another tall and lanky left-hander. It's an upper 80s fastball that they've seen get to 90, 91, maybe 92. Slow curveball, but a great changeup. Throws it to righties and lefties. That is the out pitch. 54% swing and miss. That is crazy elite against his changeup this year. O's are salivating at a big, tall lefty with a good changeup. Really interesting, kind of projecting as a relief arm guy in Braden Sloan. 18th round for the Orioles, pick 544 overall. They went with 6'2" left-handed hitting high school outfielder Cole Johnson out of Oconee County High School in Georgia. He is committed to play at Georgia Tech next year and plays a great center field. Most likely, the Orioles take someone every year between rounds 16 and 20 who's a high school player who wasn't drafted early, who's committed to a big-time program like Georgia Tech, and they basically draft him just in case. So just in case, one of their top picks has a medical issue or doesn't want to sign, and the Orioles have a bunch of money to throw around because they couldn't sign one of their earlier players, they will throw that money at a player like Cole Johnson, who they only got in the 18th round, but to convince him to not go to Georgia Tech and instead sign with the Orioles. So there's a good chance Johnson actually doesn't sign with the O's and just goes to Georgia Tech and then is in the draft 3 years later. But the O's will at least see where his head's at. Joe Doyle had some scouting notes, smooth left-handed swing, good contact skills, and the ability to play the outfield as well. 19th round pick for the Orioles, 574 overall, is the 19-year-old, 6'1" right-handed hitting shortstop Jimmy Anderson out of Heartland Community College in Illinois. Put up some gaudy offensive stats as a freshman in JUCO this year. Couldn't find if he was transferring anywhere at the D1 level. Maybe that's good. That means he's more likely to sign as this pick. /439, 520, 706 for a 1226 OPS at JUCO this year. 10 homers on the season. He was just an absolute monster at the JUCO level. Don't have much more on him than that, but could be a really good player. And the Orioles' final selection, the 20th round pick number 604. They took 19-year-old, 6'1" right-handed pitcher Connor Gare, and he spells it the right way, out of Meridian Community College in Mississippi. Coming off a good freshman year as a two-way player at the JUCO level, although he is probably a pitcher at the pro level. 12 appearances, 7 starts, 62 and a third innings, had a 2.31 ERA at Meridian Community College this year with 83 strikeouts to 21 walks. He did hit .310 with an 883 OPS and 2 homers as a batter this year, but he was announced as a pitcher. I think the Orioles are going to draft him as a pitcher. Not sure they'll really let him, as a 20th rounder, become a two-way player. But that is the Orioles' full draft class from here in 2025. 14 players from 4-year colleges, 7 players from junior colleges, and 3 players from high school. That adds up to their league-high 24 selections. They took 2 catchers, 5 infielders, 4 outfielders, and 13 pitchers. 13 pitchers is tied for the most that Mike Elias has selected in a 20-round draft. He took more than 13 pitchers back in 2019, but that was last year. The draft was 40 rounds. It is now 20 rounds. They took 11 pitchers last year, also 13 of them in 2023, 12 in 2022, and 9 in 2021. So you all are asking for pitching, and Mike Elias delivered. And what this class as a whole really reminds me of is that 2023 class when the Orioles went and drafted all those pitchers. They got, they didn't pick any in the top 50, but they got Jackson Ballmeister at 63. They got Kiefer Lord at 86. Those are the kind of picks that for me kind of match up with getting JT Quinn and Joseph Jurwa early in this draft. And then later, they got some really intriguing arms. They got Jacob Cravey in the 6th. They got Teddy Sharkey in the 7th. You kind of scroll down. That's like Caden Hunter and Hunter Allen and Teddy Sharkey with this really good relief stuff. They got Braxton Bragg in the 8th round. They may have gotten lefty Braxton Bragg in Kailen Hamson in the 8th round this year. Like they kind of went toe-to-toe with that draft in terms of the interesting pitching. And, it wasn't as many weird schools. Remember, they got Zane Barnhart that year out of Hillsdale College that season. They were able to find Michael Ferret out of the State College of Florida, Manatee. Nestor Herman came out of Seattle University that year. So still some small schools, and the Orioles kind of took that to heart. This 2023 draft class has looked really, really good for the Orioles. I mean, Bradfield looks solid. The pitchers look great. And they were able to turn Horvath and Ballmeister into Zach Eflin at the trade deadline. It's been a great 2023 draft so far. I think the 2025 draft looks a lot like that. Now, couple of superlatives I want to give out. First of all, player you'll see first in the big leagues. I do think it is the first rounder, Ike Irish. Again, Eric Longenhagen says he thinks he's the fastest moving bat in this class. That is a caveat, though. That is if the Orioles see him more as a right fielder than a catcher. If they see him more as a catcher, he's going to spend more time in the minor leagues developing that catching defense. If not, there's a scenario where at some point in 2027, the Orioles have Adley Rutschman, Samuel Basayo, and Ike Irish all on that roster. Adley's catching 3 to 4 times per week. Irish and Basayo combined to catch the other 2 to 3 times. And then otherwise, Irish and Basayo are kind of rotating through right field for Irish and then first base and DH for them as well to keep all 3 of their bats in the lineup, but keep them all fresh as catchers. That is my pipe dream, but I think it really, really could happen. I think my favorite hitter pick from this draft, besides Ike Irish, is Wehiwa Aloy. I mean, yes, there's a big swing and miss and big chase, and it's a risk here. Not as big of a risk maybe as Vance Honeycutt was in the first round last year, but it's a risk. But he won the Golden Spikes Award. He was mocked in the top 15, and he falls to 31. It's just too good of a player to not take there. I'm just super excited by that pick. That's my favorite hitter that I think the Orioles took. I think my favorite pitcher is this guy who I just really learned about basically yesterday. That is the left-hander Kailen Hamson out of Australia and the University of the Cumberlands. I mean, saw some video. The stuff looks tremendous. Obviously, Kentucky recruiting him. Joe Doyle calling him a data darling with MLB stuff right now. I am way in on him. And then my top late sleeper in this draft, I'm going to say my top late sleeper is... we will go ahead and give it to Denton Biller, the 16th round pick out of Johnson County Community College, committed to Arkansas as a transfer. If the Orioles can get him here, Arkansas was probably the best team in the country last year that didn't win the national championship. That could be a really interesting sleeper, but you never know on the day it ends. But I really do at this point like this draft class, what the Orioles did. And hey, y'all wanted pitching. They certainly got some pitching. And when we talked to Joe Doyle for our draft preview episode a couple of weeks ago, he said the Orioles should do exactly what they did, especially in 2023. Get those big-time bats early and then just keep going after pitching on the last 2 days and the last, 15 rounds. Just get pitchers and pitchers. Some will hit, some will not. That's working out so far from the draft 2 years ago. I think it's going to work out again from this year's class. But let me know what you think of this draft class. Leave them in the comments here at the Locked On Orioles YouTube channel. I will be back tomorrow, of course, no Orioles game to talk about. We'll maybe briefly discuss the All-Star game if Ryan O'Hearn does anything cool as the starting DH for the American League. But otherwise, we're going to talk about the trade deadline again. We've talked about, who's going to be traded, who's not going to be traded. Let's really lay that out on tomorrow's episode. I'm going to talk about 15 Orioles players who have a chance to be dealt. And I'm going to rank them 1 through 15. Who is the most likely to be traded and what teams would be interested? That's coming up on tomorrow's episode. But until then, I'm Connor Newcomb, and this has been the Locked On Orioles podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.